Thanks for checking out a new episode of Bad Advice with Chris Cubis, the show where unqualified people give unsolicited advice. This week I'm joined by comedians Paul Rabliauskas and Lisa Friedrich. We get into some super fun stuff. We talk skinny dipping neighbors and shoplifting friends. It's a good time, so you should definitely check it out. Thank you guys for rocking with us. I really like seeing your comments. You tagging me on your social medias, letting us know you like the show. That means a lot. If you have questions you want answered, hit me up in those same places. We'll be glad to go over your personal answers, or you can shoot an email. It'll be in the show notes, and you can do that anonymously, and we'll talk about your stuff. Let's get into the show, man. First up, the homies here. You know, we're the host of the Weird Brunch podcast, comic extraordinaire. Lisa Friedrich is here. Lisa, what's going on, girl?
Hello, how are you?
I am good. How about yourself?
I'm good. I'm getting used to being outside every now and then, which is crazy.
It's wild to like be around humans and do comedy again, right? It's real strange.
Yeah, like you forget that people and everybody's different. Like the audience is now like, when do we do things? When do we laugh?
Yeah.
Everyone is still. It's so crazy.
People are still learning how to be like. I did a bit about this on a show the other night, but it's like we're all homeschool kids now. We're all like homeschool kids that got dropped back into high school with the regular people. We don't know how to do it. Let's go ahead and bring our second guest in, Paul. I should have done this before the show started, but I'm not starting this over again. I'm going to take my best shot at pronouncing your last name, and then feel free to make fun of me. Paul Rabliauskas.
Oh, that's close.
Okay.
It's the we don't pronounce the I in that, so it's Rabliauskas. You gotta
Rabliauskas. I apologize.
Yeah.
I should have asked beforehand. Paul, how are you? Paul,
Man.
I know we met in Winnipeg at the Odd Block Festival a number of years ago.
Back in the day.
Back in the day. I smoked weed with you in a car in a, what did you call that shit? A lung? What was that?
It was a lung. That's a res special, man. It's a plastic bottle with a gross produce bag taped to the bottom. It's just, there's a bunch of resin. It tastes like a trash can. But there he was in my car at like 11 p.m. in a bad Winnipeg neighborhood, smoking weed.
That should be fun as hell. How are you? How's things up in the Great White North? You guys getting into like people getting vaccinated? You're getting back out in the streets? What's going on?
They're rolling out the vaccines pretty fast here in Canada, especially for Indigenous people and First Nations people. We were taken care of pretty well. So I think it's crazy. We're worlds apart, but we're all in the same boat. So we're slowly getting things out there. Hopefully, in the summertime shows get back to normal and we get to hang out with other people, man.
Yeah, how's that? Have you been able to do any comedy like since like stuff starting to open back up again? Did you do shows during the pandemic? What was your like comedy life like up there?
It's been off and on. I did a show I think 2 months ago out in Winnipeg, and then things shut down again, and then things are starting to talk. I'm going back to rumors to do a headlining set about 5 days at the end of June, but things might get pushed back. So we're just sitting down and waiting to see what happens, man.
Yeah, we're all playing it by ear. I have a question for you. I'd love to talk for a second here about that podcast you have with your mom. Are you still doing that show? Because I saw it on social media. It's super interesting. Tell the folks about that if you don't mind.
Yeah, because COVID, I'm just looking for something to do. My mom, she speaks Anishinaabe-Mowin, which is the language that I was supposed to speak, but because I speak English instead. So just out of boredom, I was like, Moms, I just put a wireless mic on her and I was like, just teach me. And then we're 8 episodes in. We're going to do 10 for the first season and shut that down. But that's, any excuse to hang out. My mom is, it's good. So
that's rad. Has it? Yeah. And like you said, it's the language you would have spoken except for colonization, right? So have you seen, what's it like connecting back to that part of like your culture? That's got to be a super interesting thing. Like,
yeah, anytime, I'm so far removed from the way things were not even that long ago. Like my mushroom was like a medicine man, and he hunted for his own food, and he trapped, and he did all that shit. Like I'm not even that far removed, and here I am. I'm doing all that shit on Xbox Live now. So there's a big generational sort of. So for me to tap into that is amazing. For me, it feels right. It feels like it's something I should have did a long time ago. And there's so many people that jumped on board. There's been like 3 or 4 news articles out there. People hit me up. up. Kids listening to it, saying that they enjoy it and that they want to tap in sort of to their lost language and stuff too. So that's the most beautiful part about it is seeing the influence it had on other First Nations people.
That's super rad. I'm going to ask Lisa, this is a question. I'm going to try to tie these two things together. They make sense in my head, but I don't super know that they do. You have somebody in Paul, who's a First Nations person up in Canada, kind of being forced, like kind of removed from his cultural history. Lisa, you're very open about the fact that you're adopted, and you've recently, at this point, it's not recently, but like been getting back in with sort of your birth parents and stuff, right? So like you're kind of tying back into your own personal history.
Yeah.
See what I'm doing here with a segue,
Beautiful.
like a professional host?
Yeah, no, I got it.
Yeah.
You're right there.
See, I listened to fucking Mark Maron for 10 years. I know how to do it.
Yeah, it's been 3 years last month, actually.
Yeah. And how is that? How have you that's got to be a very interesting experience. I don't think a lot of people have to sort of learn sort of about not necessarily your cultural history, but like your personal family history and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, it was weird when I first reached out, she, my birth mom responded very quickly. We, corresponded for a while. A few months later we met, and I was going to ask you, Paul, if you had this, it was like a guttural feeling, like this is supposed to, this feels right naturally. And so I was wondering that with the language, if it was a similar thing. So good job.
Fascinating.
No, it's definitely it's you can't explain it, but it's just this is something inside of me that this feels right, because it's who you are, it's who you've been, it's part of your history. So I definitely kind of understand that gut feeling you're talking about.
Yeah, it's wild. But yeah, finding out.
Is there have you learned one or two interesting little things that you can talk about or not talk about? I don't know. I don't want to put you on the spot.
My mom I'm not blood related to this part, but she married a guy who, his grandfather kind of invented a breed of cattle. And so he, I'm forgetting the name of it, which is awful. But he basically is the head dude of every kind of, if this cattle is being moved anywhere, it's this guy.
Wow.
And Nolan Ryan is one of them that runs a ranch with those cats. It's just weird.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that I feel like that's the most exciting part.
No worries. Well, let's go ahead and jump into some of these letters. I always ask my guests, Paul, what is your familiarity? So I mostly pull these from Dear Abby. Do you know anything about Dear Abby? Did that make it to Canada? I don't know how that works.
Any sort of advice column is white people shit to me. I'm
true.
aware of
You're
it.
not wrong.
I remember back when I'm old enough where we had newspapers growing up, and I always thought it was strange that just random people would ask random people for advice for personal stuff. So I think it's hilarious. Even the real sad ones are funny to me. So
you're in the right. Well, then you are in the right place, and you are very not wrong. A lot of times we'll read these letters, and I'll ask, we'll go real quick. What's the ethnicity? Because these are all anonymous. We always almost always white people. Lisa, nice. How about you? You know anything about Dear Abby? Yeah.
Oh yeah. I love it for a lot of the same reasons. And it's also just so much. And I know you said that you find the ones that are not like this, but it's all the same shit. So much of it is my husband.
There's a lot of that, but also some of them are there's a lot of
wild
sexual abuse and really serious topics that aren't going to be fun for a podcast. You know what I'm talking about?
Right.
So I try to not pick those letters. Try to keep it a little more on the strange or...
It's probably a good move.
Yeah, for the most part, I think I do a pretty good job. I'll give you an example. We'll jump into one here, and we'll tell you what you think. Dear Abby, I think a group of boys that I go to school with are stealing from the department store where I work. I think they do it on purpose when I'm working because they don't think that I will tell anyone. I have no solid evidence other than the fact that I've seen a few of them wearing things from my store that I don't remember them buying. They never buy anything when they're in the store. They just linger. I don't want to get in trouble because my manager knows I know them. I'm really good friends with this group, and I don't want any of them to go to jail. What should I do? Signed, Tattletale.
What's the problem?
I don't even know.
Yeah.
Shut your mouth, I think is what, right? Can you just mind your business?
Who gives a shit?
Imagine, and also like we have to assume this is a teenager, right?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of the way it's written, and it's like kids you go to school with. This isn't like a college kid. This is like a
this is the type of kid that gets into politics. These are definitely that's got a future. Because you wonder how politicians are like, what were they like as kids, and this is how it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What if it's a teacher though with a side job?
It could be. In the States, we don't pay our teachers for shit. That is a valid point. I have a couple of problems with the writer of this letter, right? For one, shut the fuck up. Why do you care about your fucking company that much? Stop being that person. But also, she says, I have no evidence other than the fact that they wear things from the store. Bitch, you think the store isn't open when you don't work? I don't understand. Like, they could just be there with their mom while you're in, you know what I'm saying? There's any number of reasons they can have the same Also, I promise you that your department store isn't the only person selling that polo. They could buy that shirt anywhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it sounds like she's just mad at these guys and just looking for something.
Did you guys steal when you were teenagers?
100%.
Yeah.
I didn't. I'm a big chicken shit. Like I'm terrified of everything. I was with cousins one time and they stole like hot rods and I couldn't sleep that night. So
when you
I'm
say
like,
hot rods, what do you mean?
Hot rod's like a Slim Jim. It's like a meat stick.
Okay, word.
It's like a little meat stick, and I honestly could not sleep. I couldn't sleep that day, so I wasn't built. I'm not built for that life.
The only thing I stole was like one of those. This is old, but the seat belts in the airplane that they like the fake one.
The extender seat. The extender. It ain't that old. I'm still fat. We still have to get extenders.
Trust me.
That's very current, Lisa. I don't like what you said.
As a fat guy, I've accidentally taken extenders in my pocket. I put them. I'm like, I'm gonna give this to the stewardess when I leave, and then I pocketed like 3 of them by accident. So I've got a couple. I've got a few of them in my collection.
That was like the most exciting find of my high school days.
Let me tell you this: as a post 9, I'm old enough that like 9/11 was still like in my mind. It was like important. I mean, we all were around for it, but I was like almost I was like an adult. I started getting extenders even before I needed them. Because I was like, anything goes down on this plane,
just be safe.
I'll wrap this shit on my fist. I can crack you over the dome with it. It's like a blackjack. I really thought I was Mark Wahlberg in this plane. I used to be like, I'm going to get 2 of them, go double fist with this shit. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
They're nunchuckers. They're nunchucks, right? They're in the same sort of school as nunchucks. You can game over.
You think you can't knock a terrorist out? Or a drunk anti-vaxxer who don't want to put on his mask?
Oh,
crack you the fuck up too. This is all new.
Are you shy when you ask for the extenders? Are you shy about it, or are you just like all confident? I'm going to need one.
I used to be when I first started needing them. It was very much like when you get on the plane, you ask, you whisper. Hey, by the way, can I get? You know what's up. Also, you looking at me, you know what the fuck I'm about to ask you for when I get on this plane. But now, I don't give a fuck. I already know y'all make these seats too small. I've seen normal ass size people can barely fit in those seats. They're crushing us in there just to make extra money. So fuck them. Give me my extender.
Make me feel fatter for no reason.
Yeah. So she's also saying she doesn't want to get in trouble with her manager. Also, I'm saying she, but I try not to gender.
It sounds like a
podcast, but it says I think a group of boys at the school. That's the way that's written screams. It's not like that's not a dude writing that. That sounds like a girl wrote that,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So like she's saying that she doesn't want her manager knows she knows them, so she doesn't want to get in trouble. I don't know how that. I mean, I guess. I don't know. I used to steal for people at my job. When I worked at Super Kmart, I would when I was at the register, I would just put extra shit. I wouldn't ring up some of your stuff. Like, fuck the company. I'm like, you're nice. You can get free food or whatever.
You're why they went down.
Yeah, that's it. I did. It was me.
Single-handedly took down Kmart.
I took that check out of Rosie O'Donnell's pocket for sure. But like when Lisa, have you ever worked like retail? Yeah. And did you give a fuck if people were stealing from your job?
Absolutely not. Yeah. Like it happened where, oh God. So they flew me out to go manage a store. I was working at Quicksilver, brah. And they flew me out to go work at a store that was understaffed. And this was in college. And some girl that was working there, she was like, oh my God, I just took this and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my God, I don't give a fuck. And then just like flew back home. Yeah,
I'm not, my name is not Lisa Quicksilver. Why do I give a shit if you're stealing coming out of my pocket?
Yeah.
And I've seen enough YouTube videos to know where like minding your own business is the safest play in any situation, man. That'll keep you from, being a YouTube video. So
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to end up on this TikTok embarrassed for sure.
Now, we had dudes that would like chase people out, but I think that's just because we were a bunch of early 20-year-olds with some feelings. You know?
Yeah. There was there was still hormones kicking through.
Yeah.
Wanted to fight. Yeah, for sure. No, absolutely not. I'm not. When you work retail and they give you that talk where it's like, if somebody tries to rob the store, don't resist. And it was always like, yeah, wasn't planning on it, man. I don't know why you thought I was going to fucking die hard my way through this fucking robbery attempt, but that was not gonna happen.
Not these t-shirts. You get that.
So I think we can all agree this lady's best play. Just shut the fuck up. Let people steal from your job. Mind your own business. Also, start stealing from your job. I think more people should steal from their corporate jobs. Not like if you work for a small mom and pop, that's different. But if you work for fucking Walmart or some shit, they're stealing from you every paycheck.
Mm-hmm. Also, signing it Tattletale, you know what you're doing.
Yeah. That's a fact. That's straight up fact. Let's go ahead. We can move on to another letter here. I'm trying to take a minute. Where do we want to go next? Okay, let's try this one on for size. Dear Abby, I'm writing on behalf of the residents in my development. We're middle-class citizens who take care of our homes. Our lawns are neat and trimmed, and our flower beds are weeded. Our stuff is kept in garages, sheds, or in our homes. Last summer, a new family moved into the neighborhood. They bought the first house you see when you enter our main street. Abby, the place is a mess. Stuff is all over the place. Piles of junk left out over the winter. To their credit, a shed was started, but it was blown down after a few days, and now the lumber just lays there. Since their property backs up to the main road, they don't bother driving around the block to park. They drive through the yard. The tire ruts are now evident, and it detracts from our well-kept lawns. We can only imagine what has happened to the property values. Any suggestions would be greatly appreciated. Signed, Dumped on in Delaware.
Delaware. There's everything.
There's so much. Okay, first off, ethnicity check. White folk. Hard white folk. But I will say this. I am concerned that the messy fucking neighbors are just the first brown people to move into that neighborhood.
I could even call this this also sounds like white people yard.
I've lived around that white person.
It can go either way for me.
For sure.
But writing in makes me think it is like the first different ethnicity.
Yeah.
Y'all gotta remember, I live on the reserve, man. We don't get rid of our old cars. We got trampolines from 8 years ago still out there. Like there's just nowhere to take anything, bro. So it's when I see junk outside, I'm like, it's a big family. They've got lots of stuff. They're active. That's what when I see a messy house, I think that's an active family outside. And if you think otherwise, then of course the race car is gonna get played. I feel like.
Yeah. Also, first off, I love anyone who starts with "we're middle class citizens." We're almost certainly not. Everyone likes to think they're middle class when they're just working class who have like you work, you have a job, and you live around people. But like you're 2 paychecks away from fucking defaulting on your mortgage. So let's not throw that middle class shit around so much. But you can tell they're that snooty. Because they're like, our lawns are neatly trimmed. Our flower beds are weeded. I don't even know what the fuck a flower bed is. What do you mean?
Who calls, like, this person might be 70 or 80.
There's my other concern. So initially I thought we're talking about just like old people with too much time on their hands. But the more you read it, the more I just sort of pick up on like, they drive through the yard and our property values. Anytime someone talks about property values, I'm like, I can just see the Trump flag in their yard. You know what I mean? Yeah. Have you ever had a neighbor that was like the problem? You know what I mean? Do you ever have that one, like, do you ever live in a neighborhood where you had one person that was like, oh, everybody talks about or whatever?
I grew up when I lived in the city. I lived in the hood, so there was the lady that wanted to post that would never post that in the neighborhoods that I lived in. The lady that would post that would come outside and just me mug and head right back inside to safety. That's literally the only play that these ladies would have, or men, whoever wrote this. But
I'll be honest with you, this feels like a dude. The way this is written feels like a dude. You're talking about lawn ruts and stuff and property. This has white dude energy to me for sure.
I agree. I also I don't know. We've got a couple, I say right now, I live in a neighborhood where the only thing that people are posting is where those gunshots or fireworks, right?
Yeah.
There's a house that's painted. It is bright yellow, bright purple, bright turquoise, and everything is painted that. So that's my one.
Mm-hmm.
But cars in the yard, who gives a shit?
I can't imagine. And now, granted, I don't own, right? The idea of property values means nothing to me because I have never owned a house, and I don't think I ever will. That doesn't seem like it's in the cards. But so I guess I don't. So I'm trying to be a little empathetic, and I guess on some level, if it's literally the fact that you drive through your yard is making my house worth less, might fuck with me a little bit. But I feel like I would take that out on the system. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I'd be mad at the bank and not the dude. I don't know. That's me trying to think I'm good, but
also, how much can property value be in Delaware?
Facts for sure. Also, they have so much time to they noticed they tried to build a shed, but they didn't. This sounds like a person who's been you won't drive around the corner to park in your driveway. But they're coming home from work. They got 20 minutes to get fucking dinner on the table. These are just people who are lucky to have a home, but are now struggling with actual fucking issues as opposed to your rich ass. Yeah. These people make me mad.
And any person who would make a letter and put it out is just somebody that ain't got enough problems. It's just somebody that ain't got enough on their plate to deal with. So they look out their window, and I wish that I could care about my neighbors enough to not have enough in my life where I could do that. But I got too much on my plate to be worried about what the neighbors are doing. Also, my neighbors, I've said this on the podcast before. Had a drug dealer lived across the street, passed away recently. He's just an older dude, but he just rest in peace.
R.I.P. A good dude though. We have my neighbor to the right's 95 years old. He would always take in her trash and mow her lawn. It was it was that shit where people think about bad neighborhoods in a way that they know from TV without having ever lived in one to realize these are a community. You know what I'm saying? Those people take care of each other. Now they tore down that drug dealer's house because it's Austin and property values are insane. So they just somebody bought that land, tore it down, and built some 3-story fucking yuppie monstrosity or whatever. Yeah. Which, by the way, those people are super nice. We were waiting for. We hadn't met them, so we were sitting there judging them the whole time. But then they came walked across the street. Hi, I just moved in. How are you? Would love to, if you need anything, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, God damn it. Now I can't. You're making me feel bad for making fun of you. I wish you were just being shitty this time. And I could feel not bad about my judgment.
It is funny that in so many neighborhoods, especially in Austin right now, it's, instead of shaking your head, instead of the old lady shaking her head at the car in the yard, it's shaking your head at the big, shipping container home.
Yeah,
with the 2 BMWs in the driveway. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's neighborhood unity is a strange thing. I'm going to ask y'all, would you say that your neighborhood's unified, where there's people that live in the same exact lives, where they're they got the flower beds and they cut the grass at the same time, that American sort of idealistic picture of the perfect neighborhood? Does that exist out there? Is that something that y'all see in your lives, where there's neighborhood get-togethers and people talking about what's going on?
So we don't have that so much. We're not on the level there's a barbecue on the 4th of July and everybody's gonna fucking hang out at the one house
parties.
But I will say my sort of block is pretty fucking good about so like I said, my neighbor to the right is Miss Bernice. She's 95 years old. She's lived in this house 60 plus years, right? And she sits on her porch all day. People walk by, she talks to people keep an eye on her, check on her. And that kind of, I think, ties our neighborhood together enough that when we see each other outside of her context, we have something to relate to each other to, right? Yeah. That I will go drive to the store and get her eggs if she needs them or whatever. And I know you cleaned her gutters or whatever. So we have something in common. So we're not necessarily going to hang out and party, but we are can see each other and relate on a wavelength because we all kind of have this shared thing that we do.
Yeah.
But now, like I said, we were all very much against this one person who just moved in. But then they turned out kind of cool. So I don't know, man. It's weird. There are a couple people. There's one neighbor who like they don't talk to nobody. They don't wave to Miss Bernice when they walk their dog and shit. And the whole neighborhood hates them. We're all like, what the fuck what are you doing? Like, so yeah. So we have a common friend and a common enemy. So that works for us. Lisa, what about you?
I think so CJ, because CJ made friends with the next door neighbor, and he's the always working on the car 3 a.m, 4 a.m, blasting old classic rock. Like that's what I wake up to. And like me, so I've got that understanding there. And like I go on walks and we, because I've lived here less than a year.
In that neighborhood,
yeah. So going on walks, you kind of see the same person. There's a guy who practices lasso in the front yard in the middle of the day. I love him. I love him so much.
I love him so much. Does he have like a thing? When you say practices lasso, is he lassoing objects, or is he like kind of just doing, like spinning? Like you know what I'm saying?
He's doing like the tricks with it.
Yeah.
And it's just magical to watch. I love.
How old is that person?
He's I would say mid to late 20s.
Wow, I didn't know. That's an old man skill set.
I'm really sorry, but that's the kind of shit that makes me nervous. If I see somebody, I'm not gonna lie, man. If I saw that shit, I would cross the street immediately.
I mean, that makes me nervous that he's 22, because like if he's just like an old guy, I don't know, man. Yeah, that's got weird vibes. I kind of like it because it's such a niche thing. Yeah, but yeah, I feel you. That makes me like if it was like a whip, everyone's sort of like a bullwhip. I don't know. If it was a
bullwhip, that's when I'm and maybe it's a Texan thing that I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
I just watched too many John Wayne movies that went bad for my folks. So I'm still not.
I don't.
You can't win me over. There's no way you can win me over. You're like, he's so sweet. He's the sweetest dude. I'm like, there's no way. There's no way that guy got a pass for my people. Come on.
It might help that he's a vaquero. Like he is.
Oh, okay, so he's Mexican. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And that's different. If he's Mexican, now we're good.
80% of the neighborhood is.
That also makes sense. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Let's go ahead and jump into our next letter here. Dear Abby, I have met a wonderful, sweet, caring man who says he loves me. He's honest, pulls no punches, is a hard worker, and has many other good qualities. We are both divorced adults and we get along beautifully. I think he would make a great husband, but there's a problem. He's a nudist. He spends 1 to 2 Sundays a month at his nudist club. He has invited me to accompany him, but he knows I'm very uncomfortable with this and will not go. He expects me to believe that he just enjoys the sun and is not going to look at other women. When I believe this, I'll show him my oceanfront property in Arizona.
No.
Since we both work, it is difficult for us to see each other during the week. As far as I'm concerned, he's made it clear that he values his Sundays at the nudist club more than he values his time with me. I love him, but I can't handle this nudist business, and I'm about ready to call it quits. Signed, Disgusted in Florida.
This is why you need columns like this. This is a real question. This is real. This is a real issue. This is a real problem, man.
Yeah. It's a real thing. Hear me out. I'm going to agree with one point of her letter, which is that she says he's made it clear that he values his Sundays at the nudist club more than he values his time with me.
That's a big one.
It's also true. He has said, look, he's like, I do this shit on Sundays. You're welcome to come with me and do this shit on these 2 Sundays, but I am going to continue doing these on these 2 Sundays. That's him. That's his thing. And you got to either be okay with his thing or not be okay with his thing, I think.
That's weird. I wonder if there's any ultimatums where they can meet in the middle. Like he could be naked at home more often and have him go out. Like there's got to be they got to reach some sort of agreement or come to something.
You got to find go ahead,
there's so much. There's just so much in this. Like, so, wait, what year? Are these all recent?
These are all relatively recent. Well, there's a couple older ones. This one is relatively recent.
Okay, because this sounded like it was from the 70s.
Well, that's the other thing. Is that our nudist colonies still like a thing like that? But I mean, I'm guessing they gotta be.
One. We got one in Winnipeg, like close to just outside of Winnipeg. We got one. So
also, that's got to be like a limited window where it's fun to walk around naked. In Winnipeg is cold as shit. I was up there. I feel like you got like 2-3 months where that shit can be active.
Yeah, you got 3 weeks to go naked here in Winnipeg.
I mean, there's like nudist areas. Like we've got the big one here, but like a colony just seems like.
Well,
almost culty to me.
I also, for sure, anytime you're in a colony, it's a cult for sure. But I think we do have to take into account that that's her language, right?
Okay.
So I don't think she necessarily knows what this is called. She's calling it a nudist colony, but they may not call it that. And also the fact that he only goes 2 Sundays a month. You know what I'm saying? It's not like he's devoting large parts of the time.
If somebody's bringing sandwiches to this thing, it's a colony. It's for sure a colony. If somebody's doing meal prep and bringing Tupperware,
yeah. Are there organized activities? Is there like a movie night on Wednesdays or whatever?
There's bingo. I wonder.
Bingo,
I want to know who else is going on these same Sundays, because that's
right. Well,
that's the real question.
So here's what's interesting. It doesn't scream like there is a lot of like. It's not like she's come into a new social group. You know what I'm saying? And all the social group are nudists and they all go to this thing on Sunday. So I don't know if there's just a lot of other people going to this thing. I think this is just a thing this dude does. And he goes to this nudist colony. And
how's she looking at the nude? Like, is she worried about sex? Like, this is I don't know how much
I think that's it.
In these nudist colonies. It's not an orgy. It's just people doing the regular thing, just naked, right?
That's what from the several episodes of Real Sex on HBO that I watched growing up. A nudist colony is just people playing volleyball and they're doing line dancing. It's just real basic, like white people vacation activities, but you're just naked.
As someone who's not used to that world, it's easy to see how sex could happen, though. Just you're playing volleyball and you fall, and you know what I mean? Sex can happen based on that. It can happen easily now, right? So there's gotta be the sense of fear there is normal. I understand that.
You do the grapevine the wrong way.
Yeah.
I thought she's also like, he can't guarantee me that he's not looking at another woman. Like, he's looking nonstop, ma'am.
Yeah.
And also, not when they're naked. He's looking at other women at the grocery store. People look at humans because we live in a society and you have to look at people. Like, they just live in a world.
Yeah.
I think... No, go ahead. I'm sorry, Lisa. Go ahead.
No, I'm blown away.
Yeah, no, I get you. I think what she needs to do is go there once. Yeah, I think if she went once and realized here's the problem. She is imagining the people at this nudist camp or whatever the fuck it is as like sexy, glowing, bronzed people. You got to go once. It's not. It's 65-year-old librarians. It's the dude that works at the Jiffy Lube. It is very normal looking human. So like, I think she's jealous of a thing that's not really what is not really the thing. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And even if you just go to like drop him off like it's daycare, you can still like just get a little glimpse. Maybe you don't want to walk in. That's fine. Just you can. Yeah.
I also think, and I may be making this up again, I'm basing this on HBO shows. I think she can go and not be naked. I think they are more comfortable with clothes than the clothing people are with naked. You know what I'm saying? I think you could walk in a bathing suit and they're just going to let you rock.
From my understanding, the nude section of the beach is further away. And I think, I don't think they like you with clothes. I'm going to be honest. Okay. I don't think they like people showing up with clothes. You can watch from like across the beach, but you got to come chill. You got to take everything off. So I think she got to go full naked if she's going to go.
Would you guys ever go to a nudist beach? I don't know. So I've gone skinny dipping. I've broken into Barton Springs in town here, but that's with like Flores and Gina. No. It was like with homies. You know what I'm saying? So
I wear a muscle shirt in the shower, bro. I'm not doing any of that nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would, but only with like my gay friends.
Yeah.
Safe. It's safer. I feel like.
Yeah.
I think this woman, if we're gonna give her any advice, it's one. My honest advice is you got to be like he's told you this thing is an important part of his life and he's not willing to change it. So you have to either be cool with it or not be cool with it. But he's not. I don't think he's a dick, right? A lot of these letters are someone writing in and being like, my boyfriend's an asshole because of this, this, and this. He's not being a dick. You met this person. He's telling you, hey, I do this thing. You're either okay with it or not. He's not like a violent person. He's not forcing. He's not trying to manipulate you or coerce you into joining him. He asked you if you want to come. He's cool if you don't, but he's going to go to this thing every couple of weeks. Yeah. I think you got to make your peace with it, or it's not okay with you and you leave. I think that's a perfectly adult decision to make.
He loves something. He loves doing it. That's his thing. My thing, I love playing video games. Somebody say, hey, you can't play video games or it's me. Then I'm like, I'm going to have to think about this. And he's got to do the same thing because that's his thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I don't think an ultimatum's going to work. I think, she's got to at least dip a toe in, see how she feels.
Yeah.
Figure out what to do with that rest of that toe.
Figure out the rest of that.
She's going to get sand in everything. She got to get used to the sand getting up in everything. That's the worst, I feel like.
That does feel bad. We are putting them on a beach, and it is Florida, so I'm assuming they're beach based, but man, they could be at a VFW. We don't know what kind of.
Oh God! What is your oceanfront property in Arizona? I forgot about that.
Oh, that's a bit. That's I got a bridge I want to sell you. She's just trying to. She's trying to be funny. That's a person trying to be funny that doesn't know how to be funny.
Shout out to George Strait though.
Is that a song? I don't know George Strait.
Yeah, that's a George Strait song, man. That's oceanfront property air. That's a quote from a George Strait song.
Gotcha. I did not know that.
Right, y'all from Dallas, man. Y'all from Dallas.
I'm from. We live in Texas, but I'm from. New York.
Texas. Sorry,
I don't know none of that shit.
I should have known that.
That's fair.
I'll take that hit.
You'll take the hit. Yeah.
Let's go ahead and jump into another letter here. It is okay. We're going to do this one because it's also similar. Last year, a family with three children, the ages of ours, 5, 7, and 11, moved to our block. These are the nicest kids you could imagine. Our children get along famously with them. After a month or two, their mom mentioned that they normally skinny dip in their pool and wondered how we felt about our kids doing so when they visited. When I explained that we believe in keeping the body private, she assured me that they would be closed whenever we visited, and nothing more was said about it. We have socialized with them throughout the year and really enjoy it. In addition to their swimming naked, I was told that everyone in their family sleeps in the nude, so I can only assume they walk around naked from time to time. My husband and I began wearing night clothes when our first child was nearing 2 because we were both raised to believe that exposing oneself to children was harmful. Yet I keep wondering, if it is so harmful, why is this family so well adjusted? Frankly, my husband and I would like to sleep in the nude again, and I would like to skinny dip in their pool, but I'm confused as to what is the right and wrong. Can you help me? Signed, Ellen C. in Valencia, California.
Oh. Location. I
think that's a very interesting thing you're bringing up, because people like to think of California as like this mecca of liberal everything. That's just Los Angeles. Like the rest of California is like farmland and rednecks. Not the rest, but a large chunk of it.
Yeah.
So how would you feel about your kids? So that's my only concern here is like, you're sending your kids over to the naked house. That's interesting. Not that that's bad. I'm not saying those people want to fuck your kids, but like
nobody's saying that.
I'm not saying that about the naked house, right? They're clearly having their own thing. But if this woman is clearly torn, right?
Yeah. Which I like. Honestly, I like that she's torn.
Yeah.
Because that means she's considering, the world is changing and like we've got some like, okay, do we want to be super open and like have these conversations?
Yeah.
Or do we want to be, because I was raised.
Some introspection. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was raised very like clothes on all the time.
All the time.
Yeah. And then I would go to visit my friend's house and her mom would be in the bathtub and be like, girls, get in here. Okay. This is how this works sometimes.
Yeah.
But I don't, as long as the parents aren't like, I don't care if kids are naked together. I don't.
Yeah. I mean, you're 5.
Yeah.
Like, stop putting sexuality on 5-year-olds. They're not, 5-year-olds aren't thinking about fucking. They're 5. Like, that's not super how that works. Right. Now, I understand you have to be protective of your 5-year-olds. Like, if they're around a bunch of 16-year-olds or whatever, I'm not saying all 16-year-olds want to fuck 5-year-olds. Not saying that. But I am saying that, like, you have to be a 5-year-old needs to be protected from the world because they are not smart enough to protect themselves. So you don't want to put them in uncomfortable situations. But like a bunch of 5-year-olds running around in the pool naked or whatever, no one gives a whatever. That doesn't bother me. I don't think
if it's just their own pool time, then that's whatever they do in the sit. But I mean, if I got my kids coming over and there's no heads up, then that could be
going to be weird. If I walk over with no heads up, but here's the thing. Here's how much I like this other family. They are being very much upfront. Hey guys, we skinny dip, heads up. That's how we do. What's your position? They're like, we don't like that. Bet, no worries. Everything's going to be dressed. Like, they handled that as responsibly as you can possibly ask a neighbor. I just feel bad for these couple because they're like, frankly, my husband and I would like to sleep in the nude again. Well, fucking go ahead. What's the problem? Is your kid in there? I don't even understand why that's an argument. I don't understand why that's a weird thing.
That sounds more of a couple problem. That sounds more of a problem between the couple themselves, man. Maybe they got some self-esteem issues or something.
Or maybe like make sure your kids remember that their room is their room. Like y'all also, stay in there.
She said we began wearing night clothes.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
I didn't like that at all.
Is this Little House on the Prairie? What's she talking about? Night clothes.
Yeah.
And you wear underwear or a long t-shirt or pajamas is fine.
Jimmy Jams.
Yeah.
I'm imagining like an Ebenezer Scrooge.
Yeah. The long flop over hat. Yeah. What were you saying, Paul?
I just remember seeing my dad naked. And it fucking me up. Like maybe if it was a family decision that we're all gonna be naked, I would have handled that a little bit better. So maybe I just remember, it really messed me up seeing my dad naked by accident.
How old were you when that happened?
I was so young I couldn't remember how old I was, but I just remember seeing it, and then I think it might have changed. The image might have changed over the years in my head, so I can't really recall what it. But it's just I just remember being shocked and horrified.
Yeah.
I was 15.
Oh, that's too old. No. You want that accident to happen at 6 or 7.
Really?
You're like can't contextualize it. 15 is rough. Yeah.
I got home from school. I walk out the back door and just in the pool, full on a float. You can just. I was like, oh God, I've never seen someone flip off of a float fast.
That's so funny.
Is it one of those things where you didn't know at first, like your mind couldn't comprehend what was going, like you could have just looked, but instantly you looked a little longer maybe than you should have, or you just couldn't react? Yeah,
because I was like, hey Dad, I think I'm going to cook.
Yeah.
Like it took way too, like a full second instead of half.
Let's go ahead.
I dated a girl who had kids, and one of the kids, we had no lock on the bathrooms. I've lived in 2 houses that didn't have a lock on the fucking bathrooms, which just drove me nuts.
Yeah.
And then I was just about to jump in the shower. Kid was like 8 years old, and this is not the body you want to walk in on. And the kid, it was very uncomfortable. For the next, I think 8 years after that. So
let's go ahead and jump into another letter here. Let's try this one. Dear Abby, it has taken me years to write this letter. My husband and I were married 35 years when he died suddenly. I adored him. He was my world. A few years later, I was putting my life back together when out of the blue, my best friend told me my husband had an affair and she could prove it. All his pallbearers knew about it. After much looking back, I knew it was true. I was devastated, and I've been in therapy for several years. I would like to thank all those who knew and kept silent. When a person dies, let all secrets be buried with him. I cry as I write this, Abby. I loved him so much. Perhaps my letter will keep someone from hurting a person who is already hurting. Signed, Wounded in Midland, Texas.
That's a bullshit move. Whoever told that lady that story, that was a bullshit move on their part.
I agree.
Yeah, that is completely unnecessary. That said.
They're dead. Oh, that's said. Oh, hold on. What? Go ahead. What you got for me?
So she does kind of make like a blanket statement of, let all secrets die with the person. Mm-hmm. I will say there might be some exceptions of when a 23-year-old man dies and then you find out that he had been sleeping with one of the teachers of the high school, you might want to go get that high school teacher.
Sure. That sounds like a personal story. You're welcome to tell me as much of it as you want.
Certainly is. I mean, that's, you get it, but like, it's just.
Well, so here's the situation, right? If the secret doesn't impact anything in the future, it can continue to be a secret. By which I mean, this dude's dead. His affair, unless he had a kid that's gonna whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, that shit doesn't matter. But what you're talking about, there's a predator at the high school, and that needs to be addressed, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's a question, right? This person clearly didn't have the secret spiller, Miss Loose Lips, didn't have the balls to bring it up while this person was alive. It took years after the death. So like, there's an argument to be made that if you know your friend is being cheated on, you should tell them while they're alive. While it's still happening, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, if your friend is being cheated on, you got to be honest with your friend. But hey, your partner's not being faithful to you.
Yeah, that's coward shit.
Yeah. That's a real pussy move.
That's not the way to find out about somebody's past. It's supposed to come out like when in a drunken stupor, on the third day of drinking, and
yeah.
That's when you find out about your dad's, dirty business from back in the day. Not not that way.
Also, I have a question. Do we think the loose-lipped friend fucked this woman's husband?
Yes.
Yeah.
What? That didn't even cross my mind. What?
Yes.
Lisa, I think you and me are on the same page. She is trying to alleviate her guilt via a second. You know what I'm saying?
100%. 100%. Immediately, I was like, "This bitch fucked him."
I had the same thought. Also, it's weird that she brings up all his pallbearers knew about it. Like, I mean, why does that matter? That's not. They're just the people carrying a box at that point. Like, I don't know why that.
Was it a group situation?
Yeah. The pallbearers all in on it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, usually the pallbearers are somebody close to the family, maybe somebody
sure.
Yeah, a little bit closer. I mean, maybe. But you just let the secret die, though. When he died, the secret should have died with him.
Yeah, because nobody
that woman anymore.
It's also you're clearly not going to be friends with that person. But like, here's the thing. It does. I'm not saying this is a good dude, right? Obviously, he cheated on his wife. Not a good. Like, that's a shitty thing to do to somebody. But like, he's not getting his by telling her. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, oh, this guy's going to finally face the repercussions. He's dead. This is only affecting this poor woman's memory of a thing that she had. Yeah, that this bitch makes me mad. Also, a very white family. Just putting that out there. Black people will not bring this up. They'll bring it up, but it's like you said, it's going to be drunk after a barbecue.
Yeah, properly.
Yeah, properly for sure. I think we got time for one more letter. This was a little rough, but then we can get out of here. Let me make sure. Hold on. Oh, actually, let's read this one that's real silly because it just makes me laugh. Okay, here we go. Dear Abby, will you please ask your readers to take a minute to think about how they treat people who are different or unique? These days, we seem to care about how we treat people who are disabled or in a minority. However, some of us seem to forget that all people should be treated with kindness, dignity, and respect, regardless of who they are or what they do. My son is an Elvis impersonator.
That took a turn.
Word. Now, I'm not talking about some clairvoyant who thinks he channels Elvis. I'm talking about a talented singer who works hard at his profession of recreating the Elvis concert experience. He was even selected to be in a new film on impersonators called Almost Elvis. But you would not believe the way some people treat him in public. Although he doesn't walk around in a jumpsuit, he must look the part with black hair and sideburns. It amazes and upsets me how rude and insensitive people can be with their smart remarks. If they stop for a minute to think about the golden rule about choosing to build up rather than tear down those around them, then we might have a little more kindness in the world. Elvis was known for his kindness to strangers, and I think we should all take a lesson from him. Signed, Protective Little Mama in Olympia, Washington.
Yeah.
Now, I understand we may not have a ton to dig into in this letter, but goddamn, that turn made me laugh.
Hey, man, Elvis lives matter. Oh,
exactly.
Come on.
I was like, oh, this is a white line. Oh, this is a specific white line.
Yeah. By the way, Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I love the mom's dedication to her son's, the detail that she went into, the work that this boy's been putting in to not just to become a impersonator. And oh my God, I wish my mom loved my comedy as much as this boy's mom loved his Elvis.
Yes.
Absolutely. I do think it's funny. Just the idea of who are these people harassing this man? Like, apparently there's some problem where he goes to the grocery store and people are just giving him all kinds of shit like that, to the point where his mom has to write a letter to the newspaper. If I just saw a dude with dark hair and sideburns at the grocery store and you're just be like, hey, fuck you. Like, who's yelling at this person?
Yeah. And like, what kind of, like, is it a specific Elvis jab? Like,
Yeah. There's a lot of like, oh, on your way to the Heartbreak Hotel. Are you? I don't know what you're yelling.
Sick burn.
Yeah. It's just the funniest thing in the world. Also, just how... So, can we assume, one, that this guy still lives with his mom, right? I feel like this Elvis impersonator lives with his mom.
She's his manager also. Obviously.
Yeah. She knows about the film. Also, I wonder if that movie came out. Hold on, let me Google this. Because this is the older letter. This is the one I pulled from the past. So there's an award-winning documentary called Almost Elvis from 2001.
There you go.
Yeah, it looks like Elvis impersonators or whatever. I want to see if it did. When it says award-winning, I'm curious about what kind of awards it won. I'm very curious. Let's see what it says. It's got some good user reviews. I believe that any true Elvis fan will enjoy this movie on Amazon Prime. Its official site is Blue Suede Films. Anyway.
I love it.
I do love it. Here's the thing. There's actually this is a very sweet letter. The way, like you said, this is a woman who really cares about her son, but it also does have the feel of like a too close relation, you know what I mean?
A
little,
mother.
Yeah. It's a little psycho-y.
Yeah, I feel like this is a 75-year-old momager, and like,
yeah.
There's a cutoff.
And
absolutely.
I'm a mama's boy. Like, I love my mama, and I adore the relationship they have. I'm kind of jealous. I'm just like, you know what? That's a mama and I bet you he loves her just as much. So
yeah. That's true. You know what? I am bringing a lot of stink into this, and I shouldn't. That's very true. This is a woman protective of her child. Her child's living his fucking. And look, here's the thing. Maybe it's not his dream, but he's found a way to do his creative thing and hopefully make some money. He's in a movie. He's kind of doing good. Like, man, good for these people. Fuck these people yelling at this Elvis impersonator.
Well,
I got your back
for sure. That for sure. I do.
That's an insane move. That's an insane move that he's just being heckled in the streets. That's wild.
Yeah.
But even this, like Elvis, the every year that goes on, like Elvis becomes less known, and it just becomes more crazy. The fact that it becomes more crazy. The fact that people still want to emulate, not only to impersonate him, but they emulate his entire life when they do it. So that to me is more alarming. I think in 2021.
That is true for sure.
I also want to know which Elvis. Like, which version of Elvis?
That's true. Here's the thing. If you committed to later years Elvis, if you committed to like fat pill popping Elvis, I gotta respect that move.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, let's do this one last letter. This one's a little more serious than the others, but we'll see how it goes. Excuse me. Dear Abby, I worked for civil rights in the 60s. My 10-year-old daughter grew up in a racially mixed church, a racially mixed neighborhood, and a racially mixed school. She has studied the history of slavery, Hitler, and other examples of what bigotry can do to a society, a country, and the world. I have taught her from a very young age that bigotry is wrong, period. At the tender age of 10, she has already lost friends because she will not tolerate racist remarks. I have patiently tried to explain why racism was tolerated in the past in various societies. A few days ago, my daughter asked me a question I could not answer. Mom, Why is it okay to be racist if you're black? She went on to cite examples of racist remarks at her school, in the media, by politicians, and on TV. As I thought about it, she's correct. Today's America does tolerate, and in a few cases, even encourages blacks to be racist against whites. We wonder why there is violence in our schools. We despair over the white supremacist movement. We call for closer family support and guidance. Why do we not cry out against racism wherever it can be found? How can we move forward as a country, as a world, if we have not learned by our mistakes? Please, Abby, help me out here. What can I tell her? Signed, my kid's mom. I would very much like to. It's a loaded question. I would like to point out a large lie that happens in the middle of this letter. She asked, Mom, why is it okay to be racist if you're black? She went on to cite examples of racist remarks at her school, in the media, by politicians, and on TV. Did she? Did that 10-year-old start citing her sources of a bunch of racist politicians?
Yeah, that either did not happen,
no, or your child,
or she's got a fucked up teacher or something where she's like coming home with this. But I think that is very clearly bullshit either way.
100%. Look, there is no look. I will say that there is absolutely a chance that she came home and she heard some thing a black kid said at her school and said, "Mom, why is it okay that he said this?" But like, she cited her sources. She had a bibliography of racism. I don't see that happening. Also, here's why. Here's why it's okay for black people to be racist. It's not okay for black people to be racist. It is okay for black people to hold a resentment against the white supremacy that is still actively fucking up their lives. That's it.
Yep.
And that's not to say that it's necessarily okay for black people to single out a white person and be racist to them, but to be like I'm mad at the white infrastructure. Yeah, you got to be.
Yeah, you should be. And like the idea,
white people should be, right?
Yeah, like I am. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm on an island, but like I fucking hate it.
I always like back home or whatever. Like if we get the same question here, like why is it okay for Native or Indian people or Native people to call out white? It's because it's easy because we're still feeling the effects of all their fuck ups. Like every time that they fucked up back in the day, we're still living in it. Like we're still paying for that shit, man. For all the things that they did in the past. So it's easy for us to question why they did that shit and why they still deny that shit happened. So it's easy for us to sort of throw that question on our side of the river.
Absolutely. I also do enjoy I do like the idea of this 10-year-old who's like having a really in-depth conversation about race with her mom, and that just makes me laugh. Also, here's what I hate about white people, and not white people, but this particular kind of white. Also, my mom's white. I gotta say whatever the fuck I want. My point is this. When she starts this letter with, I worked for civil rights in the 60s.
She mentioned slavery and Hitler.
Did you? Yeah, slavery and Hitler. That's her only two. That's all you got.
Yeah, well, she's too.
Not my uncle, not my grandfather, not like anything that happened around slavery and Hitler. That's the only time racism was ever a thing.
Yeah.
The only two she brought with her.
Yeah.
Starting off with like, I'm a white knight. So the rest of this you cannot take it the wrong way.
By the way, I worked for civil rights in the 60s. You didn't. You did. I don't know. What does that mean? What do you mean I worked for civil rights in the 60s?
Be more specific.
Where were you? Show me the picture.
How do you have a 10-year-old?
Yeah.
I worked for racism in the 60s.
Very true. You got a 10-year-old and you worked for civil rights in the 60s. This math ain't adding up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like this bitch at all.
Math is funny. The math is funny on that one.
Yeah. And here's why that whole first paragraph is so aggressive. She studied slavery and Hitler. She knew bigotry was wrong. She's already lost friends because she won't tolerate racist remarks. Look, bitch, I get it. You're not racist, or so you say. But then if you're not racist, then like you got to be anti-racist, and that's what you're describing. What you're describing is black people being mad at the history of white supremacy and that bothering you. Which is why Yeah, go ahead.
And she's calling that racism, and it's not. It's education, and it's hearing people. Like, that's all it is. And she's like, well, you're being mean. It's racism.
Yeah. This whole letter should be read in that voice. This whole letter should be read, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I love it.
We despair over the white supremacist movement, it says. What does that mean? I don't even know what that means. Yeah. The white supremacist movement, I understand. What do you mean by we despair over?
Like, are you obsessing and crying?
You're just crying about it. Or are you doing anything? That's my argument. Are you crying or are you doing anything?
Well, they're despairing, clearly.
They're despairing, that is true. I don't despair a lot. Yeah. That being said, I think we're at a good point to wrap this up. Paul, where can people find you on the internet? Where can people look out for your podcast?
You can find me just at Paul Rabliauskas on the Facebook. Some super cute on Instagram. Add me on Twitter. Everything at Paul Rabliauskas. Paul Rabliauskas. Paul Anishinaabe Moi is the podcast. You can find it on Buzzsprout and on Spotify.
Send me the link so we can make sure we tag it, because no one's going to know how to spell any of those words that you just said. Lisa, what's going on with you? Where can people find you online?
You can find me at Lisa C. Friedrich everywhere. And then Weird Brunch is at Weird Brunch. So
perfect. I am at Chris Cubis on all social media. If you like the show, rate, review, subscribe. Hit us with those 5 stars. It really means a lot. And we will be back next week with more bad advice.